Don't be fooled by him being a rich bachelor. He still got stood up on a blind date. A waiter accidentally bumped into some apples. One rolled right to Buck's feet like it had a mind of its own. There he saw the parking lot girl who had captivated him. Their eyes locked, and it felt like time stopped. Zay said hello to Buck. He just held out the apple awkwardly. That move was almost too silly. The man couldn't calm down for a long while. He didn't know the woman was the one who had ditched him at the blind date. Seeing him scold the cafe waitress, she assumed he was just another spoiled rich kid, arrogant and entitled. But he had only noticed the manager watching the waitress slack off, and was trying to warn her to work harder. So he was left waiting alone, because Zay never showed up, and that also ruined his mother's big business deal.
Mutlaka bir terslik olmuştur. Ben şimdi Cansu'yu arar öğrenirim.
Kalsın. Sen daha annenin kucağında oynarken ben buraları yönetiyordum.
When Zay got home, her mother stormed into the room. Without letting her explain, she slapped her. Zay stayed silent as usual. She asked her mother why she couldn't live the life she chose. But from the moment she was born, her life was never hers to decide. This time Zay exploded. She wanted to give everything back in exchange for freedom.
Sabah randevulara gitmek zorunda kalmayacaksam al. Al bu pahalı şeylerin hepsini. İstemiyorum bunları. İstemiyorum ne olsun, ben senden bunları istemedim.
Her mother said you can only marry for the family. Forget everything else. She seemed bewitched, not realizing her daughter already had feelings for someone, but not the man she thought. They had grown up together. Since he already had a girlfriend, he asked his buddy to go on the date. And that's how everything happened. Now the rich man was being set up for another blind date. Rich kid went on a blind date with a pretty girl, but as a true foodie, all he cared about was eating. The girl across from him kept talking non-stop. He told her to hurry and eat before the food got cold. Suddenly the power went out and Buck got up to find candles. By chance he ran into his last blind date partner. Their eyes met and sparks of love flew instantly. It was like the sparks lit up the bulbs around them, but nothing could stop the connection between them. Soon their clothes even caught a bit of fire. Buck tossed away the candle but it lit the table. Zay tried to step in but Buck shielded her, and pulled out some special water like magic. He put out the near disaster in time, then turned to clean up with Zay. She told him to go handle his date first. That's when Buck remembered he was supposed to be on a blind date. He tried to explain it to the girl waiting for him. The manager reminded him someone else was inside too. The girl wondered who it was. Buck stammered, saying it was a coworker and he'd make it up to her. Though unhappy, she suggested going home first. Buck politely offered to walk her out. She declined and left with a gloomy face. When Buck returned, he saw Zay happily eating. He grabbed the shop's special bread to share with her. The two food lovers hit it off instantly. They talked about everything from poems to life philosophy. Who knows how much time passed? They walked out full in content. Buck kindly put her in a taxi. He stood watching until the car drove away. Then Buck got a call. His best friend invited him to a family dinner. The rich kid who just came back was the sole heir of the family. They had grown up together. Buck's parents actually worked for that family. But with his talent, Buck managed the family business smoothly. Now Buck was ready to give back his authority. But the rich kid didn't want to take over yet, and asked Buck to keep managing it. Buck was confused by his friend's strange choice, but knowing he'd see the girl he liked at work every day, he reluctantly agreed. He had no idea the waitress was actually a rich heiress too. She was a rich girl always picked up in a luxury car. But after getting out she would sneak into a discount store. She changed into ripped jeans. Looking in the mirror she felt pretty satisfied with her outfit, because she liked this simple kind of life. She did not want what happened last time to repeat, to blend into their world. She lied and said her limited edition bag was just a knockoff. At home the fancy breakfast was full of choices. She had no appetite and just left the table. At the shop she happily ate her co-worker's small piece of bread. This was a joy she had never experienced as a spoiled heiress. Her co-worker taught her how to sell fruit and clean the store. She had never done anything like that, so she listened carefully and tried to learn. But she always messed things up. Her co-worker never blamed her. Instead they encouraged her patiently. Still, today's work was not smooth. They ran into a very demanding VIP customer. Z suggested fresh juice for her, but the woman focused on Zay's bracelet. She mocked her, saying it looked cheap. Arrogantly she said this was a global limited edition design. How could a waitress afford that? A co-worker tried to smooth things over offering fruit, but the woman knocked it away. Zay could not take it anymore and asked what rule said that servers could not wear expensive jewelry. Just because you cannot afford it does not mean others cannot. The wealthy woman grew angry and raised her hand towards Zay, but she stepped on a plum, and fell hard on the ground in an awkward way. Was that not just karma? Soon the whole matter reached the police station. Bot came personally to bail them out. He told Zay and Xiaobei to hurry and apologize. The customer is always right. Xiaobei agreed without issue, but Z refused. She had done nothing wrong and would not apologize. She told Bok, I thought you would stand up for what is fair, but you are no different from the others. Then she walked away. Bok could not understand and was furious. He had no choice but to find Z again, and kept trying to persuade her to apologize. But Z stayed firm, so he left. Soon the wealthy woman came demanding answers. Bak pleaded, saying his employees had tough lives, unlike her who could spend freely. He hoped she would show some mercy, but she was ruthless and said if Zae would not apologize, she would make a bigger scene. If there was no apology, then Zae must be fired. Helpless Bak went to find Zae again, begging her to say sorry, but Zae still rejected him and said she would never give in, so Bak had no choice but to let her go. This rich girl hid her identity and worked in a grocery store as a clerk, but she ended up getting fired by the boss. A co-worker pulled out a phone trying to comfort her. The first headline was about a billionaire's secret daughter exposed. As soon as she heard her father's name, Zae forgot her sadness. In disbelief, she grabbed the phone and saw the news herself. Then she picked up her bag and ran out quickly. When she returned home, her mom had locked herself in the room, not letting anyone in. Everyone outside was arguing about the situation. It was clearly her father who had done wrong, yet he still scolded others as if he was right. After scolding his son, he scolded his daughter. Hearing Zae's voice, her mom opened the door and called her daughter inside. Zae sat down beside her mom, like the caring daughter she always was. Her mom finally poured out what she had been holding in. It turned out she had known about this all along. All the gifts from her husband were just to please her. For the sake of her children's future, she kept silent. Now that the scandal was all over the internet, the family's reputation was ruined. She smashed all the jewelry her husband had given her, letting out years of pent-up anger. She called her daughter in to make her understand that men are not reliable and she could only count on herself. She insisted Zae must live according to her plan. Accepting the arranged blind date, she said it was for Zae's own good. Zae could not take it anymore and ran out in tears. Her brother quickly followed to comfort her, and asked what had happened. Through tears, Zae said she had followed her mom's wishes her whole life. Couldn't she have her own choice just once? Seeing how broken Zae looked, her brother knew she was hurt inside. He pulled out some bear-shaped cookies to cheer her up like when they were kids. That's what siblings who grew up together do. And Zae finally smiled through tears. When they saw the last cookie, they playfully fought over it like old times. Her brother asked her to tell him what had been going on. Zae calmed down and shared how she had worked as a clerk, and how she had been bullied by a wealthy customer. Then finally about how she was fired. Her brother pushed the cookies toward her. Seeing she was calmer now, he pulled out his phone ready to find someone to investigate. Just because she lost her job. The girl sat quietly by the pool looking down. Suddenly she got a call. It was her former boss asking her to come to the office right away. Seemed like someone she wanted to see was waiting on the other end. When she arrived at the office, she saw the wealthy woman who had once threatened to fire her. Zae was puzzled about why she was being called in. The wealthy woman had dropped her arrogance from yesterday and seemed unusually kind. Barker stood by with a quiet smile. The sudden change really came as a surprise. The wealthy woman hoped Zae could forgive her for being impulsive yesterday. Zae said it was no big deal and generously forgave her. Hearing that, the wealthy woman happily grabbed her bag and hurried off. After sending her away, both of them felt much better. Barker took the chance to speak his mind. "I wanted to call you yesterday to ask you out for coffee, but I wasn't sure if you'd say yes. Now I just want to ask if you'd like to come back to work." Zae suddenly remembered the dream she had yesterday. In that dream, Barker had asked her the very same question. She gladly accepted the offer and both of them were satisfied. After leaving the office, Zae was overjoyed. Her brother really moved fast. He even called to check if she was feeling any better. He told her to reach out if she ever needed help. He truly treats his sister with unmatched care. When Xiaobei returned to the locker room, she was greeted with a pleasant surprise from Zae. Hearing that Zae was back at work, Xiaobei couldn't stop smiling. No one understood why a wealthy young woman wanted to be a waitress so badly. Back at her job, Zae ran into a man. The first thing he said to her was, "Hey big sis." Zae thought to herself, your whole family is big sis, but she held back her frustration and smiled politely, asking what she could do for him. He wanted a coconut, so Zae handed him one. Then he changed his mind and asked for an avocado. When Zae reached for it, he suddenly said never mind, he wanted a banana. As she was about to grab it, he changed his mind again. This time he asked her to recommend a spiky fruit. Zae picked up a pineapple and said, "How about this one? Big and sweet and smells amazing." The man then asked if the pineapple she was holding was male or female. He insisted he wanted a male one. Facing this kind of customer, Zae tried her best to stay calm. She wanted to explain that pineapples don't have genders, but he kept rushing her, and even threatened to file a complaint. After all, this was the job she had just gotten back. Facing his constant demands, she finally lost her patience and spoke up. "Why make such a fuss over a pineapple? If you want one, pick it yourself. All day long you just keep nitpicking. I think you are doing it on purpose. Maybe you just needed a break from everything around you." Right then Barker showed up. Turns out the man was just an actor arranged for her to vent her feelings. Barker really has a unique way of cheering her up.